Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. The subject of the discourse today is two extremes, dve anta. Now this is the fourth in the series on Dhamma Pavatana Sutta we have been discussing. Today's is the fourth one. So far we have discussed on the eight Loka Dhamma, or the eight worldly conditions, the conditions that are inherent in life and in the world. The two pairs of opposites, and then I have also mentioned about how Asoka, his warfare, and how these Loka Dhammas, you see, his understanding of Loka Dhamma transformed him. So today we want to discuss another very vital point on this sutta. That is, just as the eight Loka Dhammas are intrinsic in life, you can't avoid them. Gain and loss, happiness and misery, praise and blame, these are part and parcel of life. You just can't help it. But by cultivating wise reflection on the nature of these, one can go beyond them. Even if gain were to come, one will not be affected by gain, but one will make use of gain for betterment of life for oneself and for others around oneself. Now, so just as these dichotomies, the dualities of life can be turned into spiritual tools, even so what the anta, the extremes that we are going to discuss today, can be made use of for spiritual growth. Indeed, they are very vital, they have to be used. Now, what are these extremes? I will read out portion of the Pali text and then explain. But before we go into the text proper, just as the eight dualities are part and parcel of life, so feelings, there are three feelings that are very that are part and parcel of life. We come with that as we are born. We are reborn with that. We just can't run away from that at all. Now these three feelings are very common. You know, you are experiencing it all the time. Now these three feelings are the somanassa in Pali, which simply means a joyous feeling, a feeling of happiness, joyful feeling, a pleasant feeling, an agreeable feeling, and so on. As opposed to that is domanassa, a kind of depressed feeling and unhappiness, not joyful but depressed, unhappy, unpleasant, disagreeable feeling. Now these are the two opposites. Then there is the middle, the neutral feeling, or rather the equanimous feeling, or the feeling of impartiality. Madhyastha bhavam, madhyartha bhava, that is a balance of mind, a kind of balanced feeling. Both the two extreme feelings are transcended. One has cultivated the mind in such a way that one can go beyond both and remain in a state of impartiality and calm and completely equanimous. Now for spiritual development, that is the attitude that is vital and important, and that has to be cultivated. That will not just come. It's not something that comes automatically. No. It's there, the three feelings are there all the time, and they are conditioned in the sense when the certain conditions are present, a certain feeling will be present. That's all. You see an object in the eye, we have got these five, you see, rupa, corporeality or material senses. The eye, the ear, nose, tongue, body. And mind, the immaterial, the mental faculty. Now these are senses as well as faculties. Faculty means controlling power. Something that has controlling power. It has the power to control. So now these six senses that we have, and we are in touch with the world through these six senses because they are the doors. They are the doors that open up the world, the external world, to our internal world of mind. If there is I, there is a counterpart of I in the external world, namely visible objects. If there is ear, the sense of ear, there is the counterpart sound. If there is nose, the counterpart is smell. There is tongue, the counterpart being taste, the flavor and the taste that you taste. And similarly, body, the counterpart being touch. These five senses, corporeal senses, bodily senses, as well as the mental sense, the mind. Now, these six senses are doors, and the external world is sort of received through these in the form of their direct objects, arammana, the objects for the eye, visible object, etc. So when the visible object is in contact with the eye, you see, immediately the visible object, you see, when it is in contact, it has an impact on the mind in the form, let us say, either you like it or you dislike it. It is a pleasant feeling or an unpleasant feeling, or a painful feeling. So pleasure and pain are feelings that are, you see, that come in through the senses. So these feelings are there from birth. And how that will be discussed as we proceed during this series. The Abhidhamma aspect of Buddhism, we will go into that also bit by bit. So now, these incoming sense impressions and the mental impressions, you see, now they bring in this mental factor or experience called feeling. And feeling has such profound effect on the mind and on life as a whole. It has indeed very, very profound impact on life. That is why a part of spiritual training, very important training, deals with the mind, with the feeling. Vedananusati, for instance, as a foundation of mindfulness. Feeling can be turned into a foundation for developing mindfulness and thereby developing the mind itself. And all the potentials, virtues and wisdom and knowledge, all these that are inherent in mind. All these can be cultivated through this, cultivating the feeling. So the role of feeling is very, very great indeed. So So like the pair of opposites or the dualities that I have already discussed, this intrinsic inborn quality of feeling or sensation. From sense, you have the word sensation. You sense it. You experience it. To experience what? Experience the external world in the form of sight, in the form of sound, in the form of smell, in the form of taste, etc. and touch, and the mental objects, the concepts, the ideas, etc. Now these incoming objects of the external world or the internal world of mind, mental, they, you see, they rule, they govern life. If you are a spiritual seeker and you meditate regularly, and you don't allow the mind to wander wherever it wishes and then get lost in the jungle of the past or in the jungle of the future, never in reality. So once you allow the mind to roam about like that, and then you have completely lost control over yourself, life has no meaning. And that is just what most people have. No meaning. They don't know why they are living. They don't know their goals, their objectives of life. And because they don't know themselves, therefore they don't know the goals of their life. And once they don't know both, life is just, in the wilderness, meaningless. So Lord Buddha, in the ocean of compassion that he was, in his boundless compassion, discovered the way by which this feeling itself, which completely imprisons the mind. This very feeling which keeps the mind in a state of servility, this very feeling can be also a tool for freedom. And he has discovered it and made known to us, to be able to discover ourselves and be free, liberated from the sufferings of earthly existence. Now, the feelings, normally these feelings they have such tremendous impact on our minds, on our lives. See, we are not aware of them all the time. So, but get willy-nilly caught by them. Now, for instance, there is the pursuit of pleasure. There is also the pursuit of pain. You develop a kind of mind, a self-righteous mind, through the so-called penances, so-called self-mortification, torture yourself in the name of religion, in the name of this, in the name of that. You go and shoot yourself and say, oh, I'm going to God by killing 100 people with a bomb, all strapped around your body. This type of feeling monger, these are all feeling mongers who are so much in love with themselves that they want to destroy themselves. So how do they do that? By this pain, domanasa. They make use of this pain as a means, to turn themselves into martyrs. they become martyrs. There are men and women, particularly young ones, they love to be, to indulge in martyrdom. So pain can also be a tool for this, this self-destruction. Just as pleasure can be a tool for self-destruction. And one should understand, therefore, the nature of these, both pain and pleasure, painful and pleasurable feelings. We'll go into this in some detail, but generally speaking, so these two feelings, they create pursuit. That means you take up this as a whole be-all and end-all of life. Your life is just, that's the be, that's the end. You are caught up in that all the time. Now you can see, I'm sure all of you read all these newspapers and all. I'm not, of course, very much come in touch with these things now, but I come to hear once in a way. See, people in the so-called advanced countries, they have developed so much of greed for eating, particularly these young girls in these colleges and schools, some of them I have seen. They gorge themselves all the time. Eating, every blessed thing on earth they must eat. They live to eat. They don't, eat to live. No. They live to eat. That's their life. And why young? Even the older fellows are no less. So you take eating as a pursuit of feeling, a pleasurable feeling. Ask yourself, my dears, be honest to yourself. Just be straightforward to yourself. Forget about the world. Are you not a slave to your tongue? Have you asked yourself? Do you not love to eat? Do you not have likes and dislikes based upon your taste for food, your taste bud, your tongue? As a spiritual seeker whose life is dedicated to the pursuit of enlightenment which Buddha undertook under Bhagavan Dipankara billions of lives years ago and became a Buddha, a supremely enlightened one with an all-knowing mind, omniscient one, became the spiritual master of both gods and men. Now Buddha became a Buddha by understanding feelings. How the feeling of this pursuit of pleasure or the pursuit of pain, can change life, either this way or that way. So the pursuit of pleasure in two ways are absolutely very, very powerful indeed. One is the tongue and the other is the body. Body is the sex urge that captivates the mind totally. And one is slave to it totally. So this feeling has such overwhelming power, exercised through, the bodily sense, in the form of the urge for pursuit of pleasure through sex act. And this act has been abused, misused so much that an animal and human being can literally become animal. In so-called advanced countries, I have seen that. So, now, the feeling, the pursuit of pleasure and pursuit of pain, and the pursuit of equanimity, these three feelings, if you understand them, you have understood indeed yourself very much. And when you have understood yourself, you have understood the world. And when you have understood yourself and the world, you have become master of yourself. You are your Lord. You don't need to create any gods to be your Lord. You are your Lord. You are your master. You have complete control over your feelings and through that over your mind. And by having complete control, you become enlightened. You become master of all. You have transcended all. Your mind is transformed from the state of milk to the state of ghee. It will never revert. So now, having understood this, that feeling has such tremendous significance in changing life, it's worthwhile that every seeker of truth subjugates himself or herself to the study of feelings, to do research over your feeling, to know yourself. The only way you can know yourself is by knowing your feeling. There is no other way. To begin with, there is no self at all. That's a concept human beings create because of their inherent insecurity about themselves. And this non-existing self, which has such overwhelming power over the so-called ourselves, that is again in the service of feeling. So no feeling, no self. And there by knowing self, you will know non-self, anatta. And that is the key to enlightenment. You can overcome self-illusion, become a Sotapanna. One who has entered the stream directly leading you to Nibbana. You experience the sublime transcendental state of freedom, where suffering has ceased, dukkha nirodha, in every form. Now, so this feeling about which I have now mentioned, the pursuit of this, will be the subject of the next discourse, because it will require a discussion of the methodology, how to master the feeling, what are the methods by which you can do that. But today, for the purpose of the subject proper, which is dve anta, the two extremes, that is the subject, and I will go through that. I have prepared a little note for that, and I will read it out. And then only we will pursue the other thing, you see, about the feeling. Now, Dhammacakka Pavattana Sutta begins thus, in these words. Dve me bhikkhave anta pappajitena na sevitamma. Kathame dve. The translation is, monks, these two extremes should not be resorted to by one who has renounced worldly life. Now, renounced worldly life is not merely monk and the nun, no. Every one of you, in some capacity, you have renounced something. So the word renunciation, you see, is applicable very widely. And in this sutta, that it must be understood that way. Now, for instance, you practice Panchashila. Your third Sila is the third moral precepts which brings about a purification of morality or virtuous conduct. Now, that the third principle is that you renounce, you refrain from indulging in misconduct, sexual misconduct, which means if you are a married person, you are satisfied with your partner and you are not looking on to anybody else. All others are, you see, they have no conjugal relationship with you. And they are just other fellow human beings, and your relationship is that of a brahmachari, a person who is celibate and therefore living a holy life. So, towards the father, towards the mother, towards the brother, towards the sister, etc., you are brahmachari. You are celibate. Towards the neighbor, towards men, towards women, even the whole world, towards everybody except your partner. Towards all those, you have a mind of brahmacharya, the mind of celibacy towards them. If you break that mind, that is where disaster falls. So this word, when the Buddha says, these two extremes should not be resorted to by one who has renounced worldly life, particularly for monks, because he is addressing the monks. But the word renunciation is applicable in a more, let us say, narrow sense or a limited way to everybody. Tatave, which two? Now, then the text says, Yo chayang kamesu kama sukhallikanu yogo hiro gammo pothu januko anaryo anatta sanghito. Yo chayang atta kilivathanu yogo dukkho anaryo anatta sanghito. Anatta sanghito. Ete ko bhikkhave ubho ante anupagamma majjhima patipada tathagatena abhisambuddha chakhu karani jnana karani upasamaya avinyaya sambodhaya nibbanaya sangvattati. Which two, after asking these two extremes should not be resorted to by one who has renounced worldly life. Which two? Indulgence in sensual pleasures, that is pursuit of pleasure. Indulgence in sensual pleasures, which is base, vulgar, worldly, ignoble, unsalutary. These are the words the Lord has used to to describe its negativity, its negative effect on oneself, on one's life. This pursuit of pleasure. And worldly life means our family life. What else? I don't want to dub everybody with the same black paint, but I can tell you this, I have travelled quite widely throughout the world. My observation is, the first thing people get up, they think of eating what today, what is the breakfast. Now they have had a tummy full breakfast. 11 o'clock, again they are hungry. They must eat something, go to the canteen, go to here, go to there, in the university circle where I have happened to be. Something again, some bite, they say. Then again at 12:30, at 1 o'clock or 12, or for the monks even early, they must have a tummy full, big meal. Then again at 3 or 4, something again. And in between, the mouth goes on all the time. Drink this, drink that, eat this, eat that. Then again at night. So the whole time eating. And then for the housewife, the same thing. Whether it's an Indian housewife or a Japanese or a Chinese or an American or a German, I have seen the whole lot of them. The same thing, what is going on now, what to cook, what to eat, what to cook, what to eat, that's. Now this, this kind of slavery to eating and feeding, that's all. It's a kind of slavery. So also sex life. Another slavery. And so also in the name of, let us say, you are an artist. You see, your eye becomes a big slave to see all sorts of nice things here and there, to reproduce them or do this with that. And if you happen to be a dramatist and all that, all your sound. Now all the 6 senses are all the time caught up in creating feeling and in thereby creating slavery in the minds of the people. Now, to be out of this slavery, this jail of, feeling. Feeling itself is the tool again. And there are ways of doing it. Wonderful ways indeed. So now, this exercise, indulgence in sense pleasures which is base, vulgar, worldly, ignoble and unsalutary. And the second, an adherence to self-mortification which is painful. He doesn't call it vulgar or base or worldly, but he says it is painful, dukkho. But it is ignoble and unsalutary, spiritually unproductive, dangerous. Monks, the middle path, which does not take recourse to both these extremes and which produces vision, the vision, direct vision of Nibbana, liberation from worldly sufferings, which produces vision of Nibbana, which arouses insight into the ultimate nature of truth and thereby brings about freedom, which leads to peace, the peace of Nibbanic serenity, freedom from all conflict, and which leads to the supermundane, direct experience of enlightenment. So enlightenment is not a matam, not a theory, not a ism. It is an experience, direct experience. is not just a bundle of siddhanta, intellectual, you say, a kind of explanation of what that must be, that ultimate state. No. In Buddhism, this kind of conceptualization of higher spiritual experiences have no place. You got to experience them. Merely talking about them is not going to make you experience them. No. So it is only by following the middle path, which goes beyond the pursuit of pleasure and pain, and through equanimity, it finds access into the dimension of freedom, the experience of enlightenment. That is Nibbana. And to Nibbana, now this has been discovered by the Tathagata. Literally, the translation is bearer of truth. It's like the torch bearer in the Olympic. You see. So he is the first who discovers, so to say, and he is the first one who goes before. So Lord Buddha, being the discoverer of the whole of the sacred truths, the Four Noble Truths, he is Tathagata, the exalted bearer of ultimate truth. Having discovered it and having made known this to everybody without having this what you call close-fisted attitude of casteism, where only one caste can get everything and the others no. None of that partiality and injustice in the dispensation of the Buddha. So here you can experience Nibbana here and now by following the middle path, by eschewing the two extreme ways, two anta. So that was the subject I wanted to discuss today. This is the text of that portion of the sutta. Now we'll discuss a little bit on this. We'll go on before we close. Now with this declaration of the Buddha on the two extremes as well as the middle path leading directly to liberation. Now this is called the truth enunciation, Satya Vyakaranam. So the enunciation of truth, with this enunciation of truth or Satya Vyakaranam, the Buddha made known his discovery of the Four Noble Truths and set in motion the sublime Dhamma. You see, the sublime Dhamma Chakra, the Dhamma wheel of the Buddha Sasana, the dispensation of the omniscient Buddha. The day he gave this enunciation in the form of the Dhamma Chakra Pavatana Sutta, the moment he started with this Dve me bhikkhave anta, this world is governed by these two extremes. But a higher discovery has been made, that of the middle path, which can go beyond it, and therefore you can transcend world and the sufferings of the world. Nothing can be more hopeful a message. So now he set in motion, he said, setting in motion the wheel of truth. What does it mean? It simply means the wheel of the Buddha Sasana, the dispensation which makes known this truth for ages together. Now Buddha is gone. 2600 years almost now. Bodily the Buddha is no more there. But the Buddha has two bodies. He has the Dhammakaya and the Rupakaya. His the corporeal body, yes, that follows the law of the body, of matter, and the matter decays, any matter. Moment to moment it decays and decomposes. So the Tathagata's body is not there, but the Tathagata's discovery of the truth and his attainment of the omniscient mind, that is functioning full force. That is there in the form of Dhammakaya. And that Dhammakaya is Dhamma itself, the sacred Tipitaka, which the Buddha enunciated in the language of the common man, so that the ordinary common man can understand truth and benefit from truth. Not the so-called elitists, the elite higher caste people, particularly the Brahmin, who deals with the Vedas and the scriptures and all that, the others can't. None of this arbitrary injustice is the unjust way of doing things. For Buddha it is straightforward, everything open, straight. So now, this dispensation of the Buddha opening up the truth, which brings about freedom to everyone, from the highest, sublimest gods of Brahmaloka, to the most downtrodden, living in the huts. You see, these poor, deprived people, now they have got some other fancy name. Each age has its own fancy names. Gandhiji created a fancy name called Harijan. Now somebody else has created another name. And now the last name that I know is Dalit. And nobody is Dalit actually. Yet that is the fancy name now. And after some time some other name will come. So forget name. Go into reality. Overcome difficulties created by human ignorance and pettiness and be liberated. That is the message. So now, the two extremes of sensual indulgence and self-mortification. Basically are two mindsets. Now this is an important point I would like to point out, and you please think over. These two extremes, basically they are what? They are mindsets. That is two different mental attitudes which are quite evident in modern times too. Now it will be good to examine the exact definition of the term anta. So let us examine the exact definition, meaning of the term anta. So anta simply means the extreme. And in this context of the sutta, it means a deviant conduct or way of life. A deviation, a moral departure. That is what is extreme. So this extreme is a mental attitude, actually. Pursuit of pleasure is a mental attitude. Pursuit of pain is a mental attitude, based upon feeling. So here the deviant conduct, deviant way of life, that is moral departure from the right path, you see, or the virtuous conduct, sila. So basically it's a deviation from sila, the life of sila. And the middle path starts with Sila. Sila, Samadhi, Panya. So now, any moral departure from the right path of Dhamma is always detrimental to oneself, to others, and also to the society in general. Nobody can say no to this. Any deviant way is to be detrimental to all. It is going to affect everybody. Any moral departure. Now, for instance, you break the Panchashila. The criterion for moral purification or the moral establishment of moral power within are the Panchashila, the 5 moral precepts. The first one is not killing. Violence is the source of all misery. Today India has everything, atom bomb, everything. Where is the peace? Go to the northeastern states. Every now and then there is Bandh. Some guy comes and makes a little noise here and there and says, today Guwahati Bandh, the whole of Assam Bandh. And here India wants to be a superpower. Oh, wonderful. Violence, that is the source of all suffering. So Buddha said, Panati Pata Veramani, violence starts with killing. That means you create a mental mindset whereby you don't have any feeling for the other's life. That the other being has as much right to live as I have. The other person, other being has as much love for life and concern for well-being, etc., just as I have. Now this fundamental human feeling is not there when you kill. You don't mind destroying a life. Life is very sacred to everybody. When you can't give life, why must you take life? A plain, simple logic, great logic. Yet the so-called advanced countries and the powers and their all this, the politicians, the weapon makers, the businessmen who are dealing with all that, the whole world is so much caught up with violence. In the name of religion, my goodness, what a terrible violence that is going on throughout Middle East, throughout Afghanistan to in Pakistan, they say it's Pakistan hai. Pure land, Pakistan. Full of blood. And where? In masjid. Supposed to be a holy place, a religious place of prayer. And that is holiness, that is pure land. Human beings can be ridiculous indeed. And they don't want peace. They still want to continue with that. And all in the name of religion. Fight. Violence, violence. One bomb and 100 people died. So this kind of brutality in the human mind characterizes the lower states of existence, apaya. The animal world, the spirit world, the ghosts, the asuras, and the hellish world. Those 4 states of, the subhuman existence of immense pain and suffering, those places are characterized by violence, by arbitrarily grabbing things of others. Now here, all these so-called, you see, big ministers and officers and all that, full of corruption, which is grabbing somebody else's thing, which does not belong to you. You are stealing somebody else's thing. You boast about your country, about your atom bomb and about your achievements of science and information technology and what not, and yet you are sunk in the mire of this terrible thing called corruption. And a good judge who wanted to clean up all this mess, he couldn't do it, so he resigned. But these ministers went on saying, no, you go. Good, we can do a little more corruption. Baba, wonderful. That is the country we have. Buddha said, you want to get out of all this suffering and all these extremes, all these deviant behavior and conduct, and you want to get out of the hell that you have created by your deviant life. You want to do that, give up, follow the middle path. Starts with non-violence, which can come only when you practice metta, love, universal love, towards all alike. Generosity, dana, give, instead of taking and grabbing. And don't pamper your five senses all the time with pursuit of pleasure. Don't tell lies. Stick to truth. You are seeking truth, freedom, and freedom can come only when you realize truth. Truth alone can bring freedom, nothing else. So these two extremes, ultimately, if you go into their deeply into them, it means it rotates around the five Panchashila. So Buddha has given us an amritam, an ambrosia, and a secret of immortality here and now. And that's part of the middle path. We will discuss that next week. We will continue with this train. And may the grace of Bhagavan Buddha surround your lives with wisdom and virtue. May you follow the middle path. May you all be happy.